What's going on? Do me a favor, check out Lowbrow Saints Tattoo Collective. Their brand new location, 3456. Jesus, I'm going to get all screwed up. See, it's a brand new location. I don't know what the numbers are. 3456 Minnehaha Avenue, Minneapolis, Minnesota. Contact availability via www.instagram.com. Lowbrow Saints. They are just fresh open again, man. They've got a fancy little spot over there. Hit them up again, 356 Minnehaha Avenue, Minneapolis, Minnesota. Get a hold of them on Instagram there. Also, if you're looking for some shredding guitars, go to the Shred Den, Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. to 8 p.m., Saturday, 11 a.m. to 5 p.m., 9100 85th Avenue North, Suite 100, Brooklyn Park, Minnesota, 763-350-2191. Hit them up on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, or www.theshredden.net. If you're looking to do some design work, some logos, I mean, you need some designs for your business, anything like that. Narwhal Design Solutions, Justin Boney, Facebook, Instagram, and the World Wide Web at Narwhal Design Solutions. Justin Boney at gmail.com. Hit him up, show him some love, and tell him I sent you. Maybe he'll charge you a little extra. You know what I'm saying? This week we have the fine fellows from the F-All. You guys got all your mics muted there, boys? I want to make sure that we can hear everybody. Kong, I don't think Kong. There we go, Kong. We got everybody there. How's everybody doing, man? Thanks for joining us.
Good.
Nice.
Yeah, doing
nice.
great, man.
Awesome.
You guys can hear everything all right? How did
Yes,
sound? How did the music sound? Okay, everything sounded okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Good. Thank you for joining us. I really appreciate you guys. So tell me about that first song. What do you got? We got what did we do? Man Made on that one. It's off the After EP, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's our latest one. Recorded over at 1459
Nice.
with Will. Yeah.
Mr. Marvelous.
Yes, indeed. Yeah.
Hell yeah. Good dude, man. Solid Cat. Tell me about this tune. What's this one about? Man Made. What's the significance behind it?
Just how we're pretty good at wrecking shit.
This is true, man. This is true. And that doesn't, necessarily. You can be anywhere and wreck some shit. Man, we like to do that a lot, dude. It's kind of one of those deals, man. Let me see here. Intro. Why don't we go around and tell me who you are on what you do in the band? Anybody can start.
Okay, I'll start. My name is Jason Swick, and I'm the bass player for the F-All.
Welcome.
I've been with the band for about 3 years now. And I obviously play bass and vocal cords every once in a while.
Awesome, man. Welcome.
I am Kong Win. I am the vocalist and clarinet player of the band.
Nice. That's
/
awesome.
cheerleader. And I joined the band. I don't remember. Mike, when did I join the band? Like October, I think.
Yeah, something like that.
So you're the freshest new face, huh?
Yeah, I'm the freshest new face here.
Fantastic, man. Welcome. That's awesome. Very cool.
And then I'm Mike Bahowden, guitars, sang vocals on what we're gonna listen to, but Kong is much better at it. So.
So that's you doing vocals on the EP, actually.
Yeah, I did a lot of it. Jason's on there too, and I did a good chunk of them, but it wasn't. It was just we just didn't have a vocalist, so
right.
I had to kind of teach myself how to do that
right.
stuff.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, with Kong, now it's a totally different deal. It's way better.
Badass, man. Badass. Very cool. I like to start out with a little bit of history when it comes to the show, just kind of getting an idea, letting the listeners get an idea of like what you started listening to as a kid, like what was going on in the house, what was mom and dad listening to, what were your brothers and sisters listening to, what were the homies around you listening to, and kind of what pushed you in the heavier aspect of things as you progressed in music. And anybody can start here too.
I guess my house was kind of weird. My dad's from India, so there was some Indian music in our house, and and then we'd listen to the Beatles and stuff. But even as a tiny kid, anytime you'd hear anything kind of heavy coming from a window. And back then it was probably like Jimi Hendrix or something like that. You're like,
Right.
what's that? Like a 5-year-old kid just goes, oh, that's what I want to hear,
Right.
And
Right.
you just kind of just started the quest and just slowly, got
Now,
there.
now brothers and sisters, Mike, at all?
I was the oldest, so I kind of had to figure that out on my own, and just
yeah. So you were the leader of the whole deal too, huh? So like now with classmates, what were some of the homies that like pushed some of the cool stuff on you? There had to have been, heavy stuff that you picked up right away.
Oh yeah, probably not till about like junior high, which for me would have been like 1980-ish or so. I mean, you just see what people are wearing, and the radio played a big role, then you also you're catching Led Zeppelin and Black Sabbath.
Yeah.
And going in that, and then through high school, there was this college radio station in St. Cloud. There's KBSC, but the St. John's radio station would play like Black Flag, and and that got me into that, and then of course Iron Maiden, just by seeing the record cover at the Wax Museum, I'm buying that shit, and then it turned out like just to be the best thing ever.
Right.
Musically,
dude, back then too.
Because the thrash wasn't around yet, so it was a lot of like kind of speed metalish stuff, like Iron Maiden and Black Flag, But all that came from from just like hard rock, from sad to say, Ted Nugent.
Yeah. When so when did you? What was your first instrument? What was the first thing that you picked up? Were you playing guitar right out the gate, or was there other instruments?
No. My parents wouldn't let me get one. But I played piano, probably from God, it must have been like 4th grade until maybe 10th grade. Violin, French horn, a bunch of stuff. But I was tied to sheet music. I couldn't really figure out how to write, and then. One of the first things I did when I moved out of the house is I found a $30 guitar from an outlet store.
Yeah.
Used like a bathrobe tie for my guitar strap, and just kind of started from there. And really, the reason I bought it back then was just, it was a better air guitar than the tennis racket I was using.
Yeah.
And it just started from there, really, and just started, picking up things, playing with friends. Jack Gilbert, right?
Yep.
So we were roommates in St. Cloud, and
oh wow,
when we were both at college there for a little while, and man, he had a bag full of tapes, and then that's where I found a lot of this early Metal Blade stuff,
yeah,
and I just listened to all that shit he had in there, and it was awesome. I learned so much, and yeah.
Wow, Jack Gilbert. Listen to that. That's awesome, dude. I did not know that. That's fantastic, man. What a cool compadre to have, pushing music on your a fat sack of great music laying in the background from a good dude like that. That's crazy, man. I did not know that.
I mean, we just met at a party, and how metalheads are always drawn together.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, a year later, we're roommates for like a year, and we hung out a lot.
Yeah.
For quite many years, actually.
I knew that you guys were friends, but I didn't know that you guys were that close. That's crazy, man. That's real crazy. Very cool, man. Small world. Anybody else? How did what was going on in the household? What were mom and dad listening to? Brothers and sisters, homeboys. What was going on? Anyone?
Oh yeah. I'll go next. Yeah. We were my family grew up in Upper Michigan, Marquette area. And we were very remote and very, very religious.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And I played a lot of piano. So that was kind of my starting instrument. I had been doing that since
with the church or what? Or just
yeah, I played piano for the church. And so she was always practicing. Piano was always in the house. And I would, of course, go up and, took to it right away. My oldest brother, however, speaking of, bad influences, he would come in. He was not religious, not a churchgoer. I think my brother was trying to convert him and failed miserably. But he came in with all the contraband, and that would have been the Ted Nugent, AC/DC, Styx, and
all the good stuff, dude.
Kind of a little known band called Rush.
There you go.
It just pushed me over the edge. So in 1977, I heard Passage to Bangkok, and then I heard it again in 1980 on the live version of Exit Stage Left, and then I pretty much mainlined that album for a long time. But Rush is a band that, sounds happier and that kind of thing. And I had and it's great. They certainly were something I could have, just retired on or whatever in terms of listening to music. But it's about 1984. I'd moved down to the cities, and I got exposed to a lot more people that had a lot more interests, and much like Mike, I was introduced to Iron Maiden, and so having that Rush Geddy Lee background, but also the harder edge stuff with some of the harder sticks in AC/DC. I kind of use that as fuel to, learn the bass, coupling that with piano, and more complicated bass lines. I kind of moved into with fast finger picking and stuff. And so I was 13 years old playing Killers and Wrathchild and a couple of other old Maiden tunes, even before Power Slave came out.
Just flying too, dude.
Yeah.
Harris is a beast on that bass, dude.
Yeah, so I had all those very kind of progressive and fast bass influences. And of course, as time progressed, I got into heavier stuff. Of course, everybody was mainlining Metallica from 1984 to about 1988. That was the early stuff. But I also went to school for music, had a lot of background in classical, jazz, and then composition as well. I went out to California and did a couple of quarters of composition school out there as well.
Wow, that's fantastic, man. That's a lot of experience there, man. That's fantastic. Very cool. Rush has come up on the podcast a couple times in the last few podcasts, and it amazes me how people, stumble upon Rush. Like it'll be one song, and I think it was a drummer that was talking about it, and it was like Neil Peart wasn't like the person that he gravitated. He was like, I focused on Geddy more so than anything. And then he's like, after I started playing, of course, I went back and learned, oh my God, it's Neil Peart. He's the baddest drummer on the planet at that particular time, So, it's come up a bunch, man. And it's just such an amazing band and such a talented band to branch every direction too. You know what I mean? Because they're so like, They fit in so many different areas, and so many metalheads appreciate them too. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It all kind of started with that.
Oh yeah.
How about you, Mr. Kong? How did your musical journey go? As far as being a young man and learning the very beginning of music.
So this is where the time jump is gonna get in. The generational gap is gonna come in. So my parents, they were immigrants from a country called Burma or Myanmar nowadays, and they brought a lot of they were like refugees. So when they came over, they brought a lot of like Burmese songs and tapes and stuff. And so growing up, me and my siblings, I'm the youngest of like 3 girls. So we kind of just grew up just listening to that, and my parents would like always play that every single day in the house. So there was always kind of music just playing around. And then some of the songs, they'll be like they'll cover like hard rock songs. Like you got like Poison and like Bon Jovi. And I didn't even know who the hell Bon Jovi was at the time yet, because I was like 4 or 5.
Right.
What a blissful life not to know who Bon Jovi was.
Right.
I was a child. But yeah, like and then around the time I was growing up, like YouTube started popping around the corner, and my siblings, like, they discovered like Spice Girls and listening to T-Pain and Chris Brown and all that stuff. And me being oblivious, I'm just like, oh yeah, like I listen to this too, blah, 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 and stuff. And yeah, music was just basically all around our household. My dad would actually blast music in the household in the morning to wake all his siblings up. And then once we're all up, he's like, what took you guys so long?
Right. He dancing by himself? That's awesome.
Yeah,
Probably got him fired up. He's like, man, this gets me going. Let's get everybody else doing that. Let me bounce that same thing off of you guys. Was that something that was in the house? Was it music around you all the time as a kid? Was that something that was playing? I know Kong had mentioned it, but like I had the same thing when I was a kid, man. My wife is totally polar opposite of me, where I don't think that she ever really had much music in her life. She likes music and her mom likes music, but I don't think that she had it blasting like I did. You know, my mom was dancing around in her bathrobe all the time and shit. You know what I mean? Like there's always something going on. You know. Now, Kong, when did you start taking the heavy turn? Where did you start going towards the heavier stuff? I know you say like Bon Jovi and things like that. That's kind of a gateway drug right there. You know.
You would think, but no, it's actually interesting. When I look back at it, I always try to figure out like where did it start? Because like growing up, yeah, like music was always playing in the house, and also like my older sister, like she played piano too, so I kind of grew up watching her, play instruments and stuff. And I think like one of the first bands, like actual like bands I listened to like when I was like a kid was like Linkin Park.
Okay.
And I think for anybody in my age, like that would kind of be like the introduction, but it was never really kind of like a spark. But I'll say it was like a seed planted because as I got older, like I was surrounded by friends who would listen to rap. I was surrounded by friends who listened to pop and EDM and country and stuff. And I'll listen to that, but there was just like to explain it, I guess there's just like an itch. There's just like an itch that I just couldn't figure out. And just like any music genre I listened to, I just couldn't figure out like what like starved me. Got to middle school, I started playing drums, and then one of my friends introduced me to Green Day. And as soon as I started listening to Green Day, it dove right into like punk and pop punk. And then once I got into high school, I don't know, I just made the transition to just metal. And then I started listening to like Avenged Sevenfold, and that led into Slipknot, and that led to Lamb of God, and then eventually that led into me listening to like Metallica and Slayer and Iron Maiden and Judas Priest.
I'm glad you went backwards. I'm glad that you went backwards. I brought this up on the podcast as well. It's like you have younger cats that come in, and I never discriminate, man. I love the fact that when anyone finds music at any time in their life and they can use it to strengthen themselves, you know what I mean? Like, I'm going to work, I'm going to wake up, play some shit. I'm having a rough time, play some shit. Going to the gym, play some shit. You know, you're upset, you play some shit to kind of snap out of it. I love to hear that shit, man. And it's always even cooler when you have somebody who's younger who has jumped all over genres. You know what I mean? Where you didn't have the main line like these guys had, these main lines to even the older rock and roll. You know what I'm saying? And to push you towards that. And then I see the connection, the correlation between all the bands that you previously listened to and Linkin Park, because they have elements of all those things that you described in that whole thing, and they bridge that gap. So I could totally see that being kind of like one of those markers in the back of your head. You know what I mean? Like it would be one of those things for me. But it's very cool to hear you bring up the Slayers and the Metallicas and the Judas Priests and things like that. I love to see when people go backwards into music. It's like you realize that people are, it's the wellspring, you know what I mean? Everybody's drawn from that heavy metal wellspring. It's fantastic to see. Now, when I was going to ask you something and I just fucking slipped my mind there.
I have something that just a quick to add to that.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, for sure.
Relates to young people listening. I've 3 kids, one of them's really not into the heavy metal scene, but he's definitely into music and stuff. But my 2 younger kids, totally into Tool, Slipknot, just stuff like that. And they're old enough now where you can verbalize a lot of that stuff. They're in their early, late teens, early 20s, and they're just like, this is not bad music. We don't see this as like old washed up music.
Yeah.
This stuff.
Yeah.
That's the real Slipknot kicks that this music. And my one kid, he's just enamored with Tool.
Yeah.
Like this is the coolest band ever. And that's just really great to see.
Well, those time signatures are infectious too. You know what I mean? Like if you play any instruments and you hear that band, I know a few people that are like over, they're way overrated, that type of thing. But I listen to them sonically and I go, holy shit, They, 2 of the guys came from what Green Jello, you know what I mean? Like they jammed with Green Jello and they formed this band that just sensational. You know what I mean? Everybody knows that band,
Yeah, but the fact that you've got people that age that are so into those bands, and it's not only Tool, it's several others
Right.
that area. Korn, we just saw the 30th anniversary of Korn tour out at the XL, and my daughter's really into them. Just as a testament to their staying power, the
Right.
testament to timelessness, testament to just how much integrity was there musically.
Yeah. Testament's coming
Another
back,
thing
right?
too.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Another thing too is just like with like in today's like world with like a lot of like going back to like younger generations, even like kids younger than me, they're getting into it because of like today's trends and stuff. Like if you look at like Stranger Things,
Yeah.
people are getting into Metallica because of Stranger Things and
The
such.
good
but then-
Metallica too.
Yeah.
Might I
It just
add?
it's just opening the doors for them and stuff. But I could say like luckily for me, it wasn't really like that. It was just more of just like I was just trying to find that itch just musically, and for
Right.
some reason, like metal was that itch.
Okay.
And just like the first time I actually realized what metal was the first riff on Avenged Sevenfold's Beast in the Harlot. That just hooked me on, and it just opened a whole doorway, just me just diving into not just like modern metal nowadays, to thrash metal, to eventually metalcore, to deathcore, to grindcore, to just
Now,
everything.
let me ask you this though, Kong. Like now that you're kind of going back into the older style of music, do you hear the influences that bands like Avenged Sevenfold may have drawn from? Did you notice any of that as you went further back?
Oh,
into
absolutely.
Those, yeah, it's a
Absolutely.
trip, ain't it? I hear some of the deathcore bands are the ones that really crack me up because they're like, listen to this heavy breakdown, and I laugh because I'm like, you have no idea what a breakdown is. Them breakdowns in the 80s had the entire, man, you could feel the wind off of the breakdowns on them things, and it wasn't gang gang. Yeah, you know what I mean, like that. It was like snap, 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 snap. You know what I mean? Like just throwing down on the shit. I want to go to you first, Kong, with this question. Local bands, like what was the first local band that you had heard and like saw? Oh shit, I can do this live. This is like locally. I can actually jump into this.
This is gonna sound bad when I say it, but I was never really into like the local band scene because I was actually in one.
Right, right.
In high school, like when I did start like getting into like metal, like I kind of want to learn how to play. So I begged my parents to like buy me a guitar, and they bought me a guitar. They didn't want me to play guitar because again, growing up seeing my sister play piano and her kind of ditching it afterwards, they thought that the same thing was going to happen to me. So, but then I did kind of prove them wrong when I dove into it. I became like one of the greatest guitar players in my high school. May I say so myself? But yeah, I when I was 16, I started playing guitar, and then I believe when I was 17, you play an instrument, you join a band. So I was joining bands from different schools and stuff. Some were great, some were not, but it kind of got me into the idea of like, oh, I want to do this. I actually like want to do this. I did have that mindset before, but that was only because I just started high school and I had no idea what I want to do in my life.
Understandable, man. Understandable. That happens at that point. And guys like me and Mike probably and a few other metalheads are like, fuck it, we don't care. Let's go. Let's just play some shit. Have fun with it. So yeah, that's awesome. How about you fellas? Are any local bands that you saw back in the day that you were like, oh, this is achievable. I could do this. I want to get involved in the local scene.
Yeah, that really didn't. It took me a while because I was living in St. Cloud. I didn't really know shit, to be honest.
Yeah.
But then I was, got a fake ID, and I'd go see bands like Obsession and Paradox would come through town, and Regime.
Yeah.
And but that didn't really. It still didn't hit me that I could even, pull that off until I was also I'd run sound on weekends for this country rock band. We just go around the state on weekends. Right. I'd watch those guys play, and then one day I'm just like, well, fuck, I think I can do that.
Yeah.
So I quit that and as I started playing a little more, next thing I knew, I was like jamming with those guys from Soylent Green until they kicked me out because I still wasn't very good.
Right.
But yeah, man, it just was like, yeah, I think I'm gonna do this. I think,
Right,
you know?
right. Yeah, that's awesome, man. That's kind of a quick trip right into it too. You know what I mean? Like you get hooked into it and run with it. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah.
Yeah. How about you, good sir?
Yeah, so we started playing in bands, like I said, around like 13 and 14, and we had nothing else to do. There was no internet, there was no anything, and all of the metal stuff was just coming out, anything from Dokken to Night Ranger, to all this stuff. And kind of the cat's meow around 84, 85 was Yngwie Malmsteen when he came out with a lot of his more complicated stuff, and we would order the Starlix tapes,
Right, right.
all the tablature and everything. And it became apparent to us that other people were, a little bit of ahead of us, not necessarily, in our age group, but like the people that were in high school when we were in junior high. And one of these fellows' names was Jeff Loven.
Nice.
And I think, Mike, you know who that was. He's very good. He won like a guitar contest in town here and nationally.
He was one of those cats I saw in the early days in Obsession.
Yeah. Obsession was his band. I think it was Funhouse or something like that. I forget what the name of his band was, but we recognized, and just because of how long we had played throughout, kind of our tween years, but by the time we were 17 and 18, we knew that we could do it. And we became, right after high school, we were obsessed with it. We got into an old warehouse, the Great Space in downtown Minneapolis. We saw posters from Minneapolis Disturbed, which featured a guitar player named Mike Bahowden. Around the practice spaces. So there was also a band called Death Rider that we went to school with. So we were in the same music classes with them, and they were kind of bigger, played at the Mirage and stuff like that. And then of course we'd see some of the more national acts. They would start to come in to play at First Avenue and the Mirage. I think Power Mad was one of the bands that I saw, and that kind of thing. But they weren't local; they were national. But they're at that time, especially in the way of heavy guitar, right? Just boiling it down to the rudimentary, like a lot of distortion, a lot of very fast moving licks. It was really starting to catch on in the Twin Cities, and there was certainly enough venues to support. Not many as there are today, but to support, the idea of, or at least the accessibility of going out and seeing these bands. It was great. Very, very, it left a good impression on us.
Now, just kind of, since we kind of touched on that too. I mean, Disturbed. I mean, how did you end up getting involved with Disturbed back in the day, Mike? Was that something that did you answer an ad? How did you end up hooking up with those cats?
No, kind of. So in St. Cloud, where you have that Soylent Green with when I played with those guys, and then I moved to Minneapolis when those guys moved here, and I'd just been practicing a lot, and I'd already been kicked out of Soylent Green then because I sucked. I really couldn't write anything, but I practiced a lot, and then all of a sudden, and then I think I ran into like. Jimmy, and Earl. I think I went into the radio station there with Soylent Green once, but I loved Disturbed before I even had an idea that I'd ever be joining them.
Yeah.
Because there was the coup de grace, which were great, but they're kind of happy and nice. Disturbed is kind of raunchy and dark, and I was already kind of fans of it, and all of a sudden, I think it was Chad. I just ran into Earl, and he goes, "Hey, we're looking for a guitar player. You want to try out?" So I'm like, "Sure." So he came over to my house.
What year was that, Mike? What year was that? Out of curiosity.
Oh God, that must have been 88.
Man.
88, 87. No, 88. Yeah, he just came over to this place. I was living at like 31st in Pleasant, which ironically later turned into a house that Decker had for a while for one of those party houses.
Yeah.
But we lived there, and I just kind of came over with his guitar, and then showed me some of their record that they had already recorded, and they never said, "Hey man, you're in." I just okay. Well, he's like, "I got this young drummer guy. You want to go over there too?" I'm like, "All right." And that was pretty much it.
That's a trip,
and that was great though. They were real encouraging, Earl and Jimmy, about like writing and stuff. Because those guys kind of had a bit more older school aesthetic, you know, and I think they were looking
Yeah.
for something a little fresh. So yeah, they encouraged my writing and stuff a lot, and
That's
it was
awesome,
great.
man. Yeah, what an experience, man, to play with.
Yeah, it's kind of wild. I didn't start playing guitar until I was like 18. Then you know, and by 22, I did my first show like in the fucking main room. You know, it's
Yeah.
like how does this even happen? You
Right.
know, it's just a lot of good luck, frankly.
Yeah, man. That's yeah. There's still a lot of people in this town, man, that when you bring up the fact of playing the entry or the main stage, they absolutely shit themselves when they're like, "Yeah, dude, I was playing that at 17." You know what I'm saying? That was my first time was in the entry and then in the main room at like 17, 18 years old. You know, and I
Yeah, you were
attribute
young then.
I attribute that all that stuff to Jimmy and Earl and Decker and all those guys. You know, again, we kind of talked about this before we got the podcast started. This podcast is basically all started because of Earl. You know, paying homage to Earl and the root of all evil, and you know, thank goodness that they actually are keeping his legacy alive at KFAI. I know it's a mainstay there, man, and for us here in the Twin Cities metalheads, man, it's such a big deal. You know, this all is because of Earl. You know what I'm saying? And Jimmy and all the years that I actually played in bands, you know, it started because Jimmy actually came up and appreciated what I was doing and gave me the push to continue doing that. And that's what this is about too. So it's a, you know, a great, a great tribute to Jimmy and Earl to.
It's true, man. I think it's like Earl's show, your show. It's nice having these kind of focal points, right? Everybody will kind of collect around them and orbit around.
Yeah,
You know, like the podcast, Root of All Evil, and
Yep.
it brings all these people together that you probably might not meet otherwise,
Yeah.
or even hear or anything. And
well, you know, and that's
it's nice.
that's a lot of the reason why I hit you up too, Mike, is because I've seen you guys around. You guys have been around roughly about 3 years, you said.
Yeah.
So I've heard people talk about it, and every time, you know, with the Blackbird Bridge stuff, you know, it was like, once you guys got this momentum going with that project, man, it was like everybody whirlwind. Everybody heard about it, and you guys were doing great and playing all these shows, and then it was like just done. And I was like, oh shit, man, you know, we jammed together. I was going to do some benefit stuff with you guys at one point, and sing a couple tunes, and that never worked out on my part. But fast forward a little bit, you get the F all going, right? And it's a trip, man, to think that you guys are you're pushing this along, man. You're still going, you're still kicking ass, you're still taking names, you're doing all that happy shit. It's fucking, I love it, man. It's fantastic.
It's crazy, man. You know, for me, it's so much. It's just really good luck and just having you know, great people in my life. Like Jason and Kong and Troy. You know, I'll be 60 like in July, and I can't believe that I'm still doing it. You know,
Yeah.
There was like a 10-year gap there. I think after like Sick folded and Nick went up to Montreal to join Cataclysm.
Yep.
You know, my life was a bit of a mess. I had to get my shit together, you know, and I there's about a 10-year interim in there. I just went back to school, got married, had kids, got divorced. But I remember really what kind of spurred it on was, of course, was based on Earl again. When he passed, they're like, hey, you want to do a reunion show? I'm like, all right. So I take out the guitar, still got my gear, and just started playing it, and it felt so good. And it just walking into a room and just plugging your stuff in just felt like the most natural thing in the world. I'm like, I just can't stop. You know,
That's fantastic.
It's always in your
man.
head. You know,
Yeah.
you know, no matter what you're doing. I'm at work, and how do I get this song to work? And boy, that's cool. Or you hear something there, and it's just an ongoing thing. And it's so nice to have that headspace. That just, for one, keeps me sane, and you know, I don't have to take Prozac anymore. You know?
Well, you know, and there's another thing that I really like to do on the podcast as well is like those examples right there, man. What you just said about life's and trials and tribulations and playing music. And I know so many talented musicians in this music scene that have done great things, man, have gone on and done great things, and they hit this wall and they do these things and life happens and you're doing all this life shit. But this is a perfect example of what I've always tried to say to people is that it doesn't matter where you are in life, that never leaves you, and you should never leave that part of your life. You know what I'm saying? Like, how many times I've set it down and just been like, oh man, I don't got time for this right now. I got so much other shit going on. But if you really think about it, those purges of energy, those purges of creativity, those spurs, that flow that you get in, man, that state of flow when you're with the other cats in your band, and that musical. I mean, I've referred to it a few times where other musicians say when they're creating stuff that it feels like the ether. They just grab shit out of the air, and it just jives. Like one spark will hit one guy and it'll hit another guy, and then all of a sudden, before you know it, everybody's in this vibration of something insane, and in the creativity and the flow in between it never leaves us, and you should never leave it, is what I'm trying to say. I make that really
It's so true, man.
long.
When I didn't have it there for a while, and I tried to ignore it,
Yeah.
trying to be like a
Normal
respectful citizen and whatnot. But I was like half a person.
Yeah.
I think everybody around me kind of suffered from it, and I was still like depressed, but the moment that came back into my life, whether it was just even just me in the basement alone, just playing and just having doing your play, just shit kind of just comes out, and it's the best thing. And I felt whole again, and it reflected upon anything about how happy I was being around my kids, and getting remarried. I have a wonderful wife now, and without that, I don't think that would have been possible. I'd probably be living in the backseat of my car. I don't know what I'd do, in just like total despair. It really saved me.
How about you guys? Have you gone through any long breaks and pauses in your playing and your bands or anything like that between or prior to this project?
Well, Kong's not old enough for that, so he doesn't get banned.
Yeah, he's probably like, whatever, Gray Bush.
It's of anything in his life. No, just bullshit. Yeah. Well, but yeah, I raised 3 kids with my wife, and my wife and I have been married and really been together for almost 30 years now.
Congratulations, man. That's huge.
Yeah, it is. And they're 3 fantastic children. But with that, as everybody here knows, except for Kong, that that we sacrifice a lot during those years. We do what we can to bring home the money and the bread and all that, and then we also do what we can to spend as much time we can with the kids. But luckily for me, really luckily, Troy Thomas, the great drummer of the FL, we worked together, and I had come on to this job, this place where it was a cold February day, much like the one that we're dealing with today.
Right.
And he was talking about how we were like, man, it's cold outside. I said, yeah, it's wreaking havoc on my music equipment. Real music equipment, yeah. And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, you play in a band, and he's like, yeah, I played in a band, and my mind, I'm like, oh, okay, 6-foot floor, black guy, probably a jazz drummer,
Right.
And he's like, what kind of play? Metal. And I'm like,
right. I know he's a sick drummer too, man.
Yeah, and he starts, we immediately it's like firecrackers are going off, between us and stuff. But he gives me their Bandcamp link, for the FL, and this was with another bass player, a gentleman, that had recorded the tracks and whatever. But I'm listening to this music, and there's the kind of like metal you listen to that is a good, kind of loyal to metal, right? It has all the elements that you're familiar with, all the sounds, and everything. And then there's like progressive stuff that you hear that's like, oh yeah, they went to Berkeley, and
you're paying attention. You got to pay attention to it because it's baffling you.
Stuff. Yeah. But it's still, you can tell it's still very contrived, and that kind of thing. When I heard these guys, I was like, that's a monster. That's a breathing, living thing. Something is happening there. And I want it in. and I knew it was going to be a very, very big challenge. But I was like, hey, this is my only shot at this age to get back into this, and that's how I did. I mean, without that, I don't think I would have ever gotten full on into metal again.
Right.
But it took me about, probably about 3.7 minutes to figure out, hey, these guys are really special.
Right.
Mike and Troy. I mean, these guys are really, really special musicians, and to have an opportunity to play with these guys, I certainly wasn't up to their level, to begin with and whatever, but I've kind of climbed the mountain, and I can roll with them now, and it's made me a great player, in respect to where I was before, relatively speaking, and yeah, just forever thankful for that. Just a lot of luck.
Fantastic. Hey,
And now we're all trying to be as good as Jason.
how long have you and Troy been playing together, Mike?
Jason's an amazing player, man.
Yeah, that's fantastic, man. Now, if he's saying he's keeping up with you guys and he's doing it, I can believe it, man. Now you guys, again, how long have you guys been playing together, you and Troy?
Oh God, probably a little over 10 years. So
And you guys messed around back in the day too, right? He was always hanging out with you guys back in the day.
Yeah, well, he was in Hot Carl.
Okay, yep.
And then yeah, but he was like he knew Nick before Nick came aboard and Disturbed, so he kind of came up with from Omaha with Nick, or they came together, so they were always really good friends. And then so he started playing drums about then. So and then yeah, I played Hot Carl. I think he did. Then he did like a tour with this band called like Drop Nickel or something like that. I don't think they were like metal.
No, I know who you're talking about too. Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, but yeah, so he toured with them, and then he did some. I know he did a lot of DJ stuff, but he went and moved to Florida, and just kind of stopped doing it, and then he kind of had reached a point where he had kind of had to start over. But Blake started bothering him. He reached out to him while I was still in Florida. He goes, "Hey man, you want to play drums?" And Troy's like, "I can't, man. I'm in Florida."
Yeah.
But then Troy moved back here, and then he and Blake started playing a bit, and Blake and I weren't speaking at that time. And then I was at the grocery store, and I ran into Troy. I'm like, "Hey, dude, what are you doing?" And he goes, "Hey, you want to play in a band?" I'm like, "Guys, sure, let's go." Because
what do you remember? What produce you were you by the produce, or were you by the?
We were in the produce section of Whole Foods downtown Minneapolis.
Oh, that's crazy, dude. Hey, check out these bananas, and you want to start a band, dude? It's hilarious.
And I think that same night, Blake reached out, and then we just started playing and putting songs together and just playing, and it all flowed kind of naturally. And then it just kind of hit a bit of a roadblock there, and so a lot of stuff on our first EP was kind of written with Blake, but he left, and then Steve Post came on board. He was also really, really good. Played in Realm and all kinds of stuff. He's super nice dude too. But yeah, and then Troy and I have just been going, just keep staying at it.
Right.
We had for a while there without a bass player, so we just just wrote, hoping for the best until the happenstance and Jason came along, and Jason just elevated us to just a whole nother I think level. And now we got Kong. So now you don't have to listen to like a 60-year-old guy screaming at a microphone, which is just like yelling at kids in the lawn.
Yeah.
You got Con who can do it right.
Yeah. So Colin, how does it feel working with these guys who are are veterans of the scene and like have I mean they're experienced players. How does that work with you?
Horrible. I was fine. No, it was interesting at first because prior to it, like I've been in bands for like just it's like 2026, like 10 years now. It's like terrible band and stuff. And funny enough, the last band that I was at before Troy found me, we were actually on a good roll, and then again band drama happens and stuff. And yeah, I was kind of at a limbo point where I kind of just like thought to myself, like, is this the right route? Like, should I even keep doing this? And then there's a website called Bandmix where you could just like have like an ad or whatnot or like whatever. And I got tired to the point. I got tired of like trying to like work with bands or like try to form bands and stuff. So I was just bored one day, and then I just put my information out into the ethosphere. I'm like, all right, this is what I do. This is what I'm looking for. Da, 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 da. Like, here's my do's, here's my don'ts and stuff. And then, funny enough, a couple of days later, Troy texted me, but I didn't see his text because I was too busy being in the Call of Duty tournament. So when he texted me, like I didn't see it at all for the next couple of days. And then so then like 5 days later, I opened my phone. I'm like, I was just like clearing out like because I don't really read text. I'm just like, all right, whatever, whatever, whatever. Mark has read, and I saw like a little like number. I'm like, who's this? And I tapped on it, and yeah, it was Troy saying like, hey, my name's Troy from the band F all da 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 because I also put my demo on the Bandmix ad, and yeah, he liked it and stuff, and he was like, hey, like let's hit me back up and stuff. Now, because it was text, in my head, I thought this was somebody around my age. So then when I went to Bandmix to see who it was, I saw this 50, 60-year-old dinosaur just like message me out of nowhere. I'm like, if I want to see a dinosaur, I should just go to the science museum.
Jurassic Park. Yeah, what am I joining? Jurassic Park band?
I'm like,
this is being recorded. He's gonna hear every bit of it.
I hope so, because I'm just like, do I gotta call Amber Alert?
Right.
Like,
yeah. AARP is what you call, bro. Make sure these guys get their benefits, bro.
Yeah, I was kind of like nervous at first because again, this is the first time where like I was approached by people like age range way out of like my age range and stuff. I play with people who are around like in like their early 30s, mid 30s, but we're talking about like 50 and 60 and stuff. So
what were you thinking? Like after you got past the look phase, like when they started playing this shit, were you like, whoa, holy?
Well, I went to their Bandcamp because Troy sent me their Bandcamp, and yeah, I was intrigued for a bit, but there was still that kind of doubt in my head.
Damn, these dudes are old.
Yeah, I was just like, your music is killer, but bro, like get a wheelchair or something. So, but
they're not there yet, dude. They're still in walkers. What are you talking about?
So like I was in kind of like in a limbo for a bit. Like, yes, the music sounds cool, but I don't know if the age range is gonna be like comfortable or not. And I didn't actually message him back like the day of or like 2 days. Actually, it was like 3 days. After I kind of was just sitting on it, and I was talking to my girlfriend about it, and she was just saying like, if it's your passion, like just do it. Like maybe the age gap isn't such a big deal.
Yeah, it's the sign, dude. If you opened it and you saw it, you know what I'm saying? It's telling you, you know?
Yeah. And, it's for me, I'm like a very introverted person. So I'm really like, it's really hard for me like to talk to like new people or like make new friends and stuff. But after that talk with my girlfriend, I just made that leap of faith, and I texted Troy back like, hey, like, thanks for reaching back to me and stuff and blah, blah, blah. And then when we met up, I met Jason, I met Mike, I met Troy, and they were all lovely people. They were all lovely dudes. And then we started talking, and then they got to hear me scream and such, and they fell in love with it. And yeah, but even after all that, leading up to our first show, I still kind of had like that doubt in my head. Like, because if I want to do something, I want to put and I want to be something that I like want to do, not something I have to do.
Yeah.
Because over time, like being like terrible bands that never worked out, that spark kind of dwindled a little bit over time. But then after our first show, I kind of just thought to myself, oh, I still have it.
Yeah.
I still have it.
Yeah. That's awesome, man.
That's one thing that's been kind of fun with this band is being old and decrepit is, sometimes we go set up a play someplace, and people see us walking, they're like, "Ah, Jesus, who hired the jazz band?" And then when you start playing, they're like, "Holy fuck, what?"
Right. See, that's all I've heard too. Is like, dude, they just fucking kill. They kill right out it. Like that's all I heard so far. So I'm like, dude, that's you got to keep pushing that stuff, man. I absolutely love it. I love hearing that stuff. If I could do it like you, if the right cats rolled up and said, "Hey, do you want to do some shit?" I'd be like, "Yep, let's do
Hell
it."
yeah,
You know
yeah,
what I mean?
right.
'Cause I
The cool
enjoy
thing
it, man.
was-
It's and you know what, dude? There's so much to learn from these guys too, man. So many different trials and tribulations being in this music scene too, man. That is one of the questions that I wanted to ask the older guys, obviously. How do you feel the music scene has changed since back in the day, man?
That's different, I mean, it's social media and YouTube, and I think, I don't know if people just don't go out as much, just because you can catch everything on YouTube
Right.
and stuff like that. But then again, I talked to my son and daughter. They're in their early 20s, and they're going out and seeing bands. And part of it is, I think, is I just don't know what some of these kids are doing, and there's some great music
Really
out
good.
there.
Yeah.
Um, so I think it's still there. I mean, there's house parties for these kids, bands in the basement, and all the kind of stuff that we experienced too. So it's I think it's still there. And the scene is not as like cohesive as it
Yeah.
was, but I
Yeah.
think part of it was because it was kind of small. It was like a kind of a new thing, and there just weren't that many bands around, and then all of a sudden, there's Disturbed, Necromus, and even then it was still pretty small, but it was pretty cohesive. Everybody pretty much got along pretty well, and there wasn't a whole lot of like people bad talking this band or this dude or anything like that. And I feel it's still that way. A lot of times, everybody's pretty supportive. You don't hear a lot of shit talking and all that these people suck, or at least I don't anyhow.
Right.
Maybe they say that about us, but I don't know. But yeah, it's there, and I think there's a great scene. Like because I missed out like in the 10 years where there's like where a lot of these bands like where like Robert Carlson and a lot of those folks kind of came into being, and they had their whole thing going, and I just missed out. I didn't know what was happening there, so I got back in, and I got to kind of go backwards and listen to all the stuff that was going on. I mean, I think it's been pretty consistent. It's not going to die.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree
And I would
with you.
add that, like, to answer the question about, like how has the scene changed? And Mike and I actually talk about this, surprisingly, even more than Troy and I did. But probably because Troy's sick of me because he works with me too. But but we talk about the good and bad. The good part is there's so many more places to play now. You gotta think back in 1986, which is, when I first started playing live music. I mean, the biggest place to play was, Sally Johnson's basement, because her dad and her mom were wealthy, and they had a big basement. I mean, there really just wasn't a whole lot of places that high school or young bands could get out there and play. And nowadays there's just so many people are willing to accommodate that. And the reason I think for that is the equipment's a lot better. So, I mean, sometimes, back in the 80s, to set up a band with two guitar players and a bass player and a lead singer and a drummer, I mean, we didn't have the know-how or the equipment to get everything mic'd up and everything through a PA and everything sounded. I mean, nowadays everything is like, slap an XLR in the back of my bass amp, and it goes right into, everything's like set up so quickly now, and everybody doing, so that part of it's really, really good. I don't think, even in my younger days, played as many shows in the time span that I've been with the F Hall at all. Like a show a month was really pushing it, back then.
Right.
Multiple shows in a month. Yeah, it was always there was really, as you know, Greg, it was like it was either like the entry, and then and maybe Ryan's, or Fernando's when that was still around, but there was really hardly any place to play.
Damn, Fernando's, dude. Holy smokes. That's one that I haven't heard in a long time, dude. Yeah, Fernando's was a blast, dude, back in the day. Holy shit, that was a cool spot, man. That was the one that was up the stairs, right? Up the stairs and it flattened out, had a huge room. I seen Destitute Idiots back in the day. I seen those guys there.
Oh,
damn, dude, that's crazy.
There's so many great bands then, you know. There's like Crib Death. Like, remember them? They had like 2 singers, and there's all kinds of just really crazy. A lot. When that was all happening, it was just that really punk and metal crossover thing going on, which was just energizing.
Yeah, you know? I loved it, man. I loved it. I felt like the genres intermingled a lot more back in the day. I feel like they're for sure. You know, they don't. You know, like even the. I don't even know what the fuck you call them these days. I guess, you know, you have the thrash bands that seem to do like the DIY shows. They stay, you know, in the house shows and shit like that, or they stay in Minneapolis and don't come to St. Paul, or vice versa. You know what I'm saying?
True.
It's so crazy to me, man. That's where we wanted to go, from St. Paul to Minneapolis, and then if we could come back to St. Paul and play again, that'd be even more cool. You know, it's
exactly.
I heard something though that was really cool just recently. An older cat, he's, you know, it's not our age obviously, but you know, 40 years old, going to the Flying V. It's actually anyway, so he goes to the Flying V and he says there's 300 kids at this show. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, why aren't the old guys hitting these shows up, handing out flyers, trying to get them to come to the all ages shows? Because it seems like more people are doing the all ages shows again to try to get this new generation of kids to come in, you know, to influence these kids to want to see these local bands and inspire to be part of this scene again, you know, the next generation, as you will, you know.
Yeah, I really think that's about the last bridge to cross, is just kind of bring those two things together. Yeah, because they're out there, man, and they're kids going to shows and backyard things and
I need to do that with the podcast, I think, just so I can get some younger cats on here so they can make fun of me being old and ridiculous. Let's take another music break. We've got let me see here, Anthema, is that what it is, or Anthema?
Anathema.
Anathema. Tell me what that one's all about.
That's an instrumental.
Nice. That's awesome. I love it. It's even better.
Make it about anything you want.
But the what's the meaning of that word? Actually, it's like vehemently something about something. I read it, but I didn't.
Yeah. You know, it's got some kind of a little
dislike,
bit of kind of anti-religious context, I suppose you could say to it.
There you go. Sweet. There you go. Yeah. All right. Well, let's take a listen, folks. Stick around, and we'll be right back. If you do me a favor, guys, and just mute your mics till we get back on here too. All right, folks. Stick around. We'll be right back. I'm sorry, Kong, but I feel attacked right now. As we're playing this song, we've got the video chat on the side here, and we're we're like showing screenshots of headbanging people, and I got what is that, the wizard from Lord of the Rings, and Gandalf. I got Gandalf, and I got Shrek. That's where I felt attacked right there. On the screen, you'll see February 6th, 7 p.m. 21 plus, $10 at the door. Kellerman presents the Jim Odegaard 1 Year Remembrance Show. The fuck all is up on the top there. Moloch, Exquisite, and Slag at Club Underground, 355 Monroe Street, Northeast. Again, that's Friday, February 6th, 7 p.m., 21 plus, $10 at the door. Kellerman presents the Jim Odegaard 1 Year Remembrance Show. And goddamn, rest in peace, Jimmy. What a sweetheart of a guy. Holy shit. You know, like I said before, that dude's one of the cats. Him and Bill Lindsay are two guys that you know, icons of this music scene when I was coming up as a kid, and two guys that actually I had direct contact with, guys I looked up to, and they said, dude, what are you doing? You should be play the music, be in a band, tear it up, you know. Any crazy stories? How did you meet Jimmy? How was being in a band with Jimmy? How was, you know, hanging with Jim?
Oh, hanging with Jim was the best. First of all, super funny, but was just super intelligent, you know, and gracious. Yeah, I mean, he just had a wicked sense of humor, though.
Yes, great sense of humor, dude.
Oh my God, yeah, it was great. I remember the first time I saw Jimmy.
Who's got the hemp?
Party at this house I was living at when I was living with the Soylent Green guys, and
oh shit! Hold on a second.
And then here comes this dude. You know, he had his red glasses on, and you know, the super hot girlfriend. I'm like, Jesus Christ, who is this guy? You know?
Yeah, right.
And yeah, I mean, it's just super charismatic. Hey, there's Troy.
Hey, Troy, what's up, dude? What's going on? Hey,
What's going on, man?
Kong was just saying when he
going,
first
guys?
he said Kong was saying when he first saw you, he said he thought he stepped into Jurassic Park. He said he walked into the studio, and Kong said he was like,
just know when you watch this back, Troy, I'm talking shit about you for 10 minutes straight.
Oh, I know. I'm sure you are. I expect nothing less.
That's fantastic.
Well, with all the greatness, it definitely looks like an old man band.
Well,
so,
hey, brother, we were just actually talking about Jim Odegaard and the show you guys are playing. Let me pump it one more time since Troy just entered the deal. Again, Friday, February 6th, 7 p.m., 21 plus, $10 at the door. Kellerman presents the Jim Odegaard 1 Year Remembrance Show. The F-All, Moloch, Exquisite, and Slag at Club Underground, 355 Monroe Street Northeast in Minneapolis. Great little spot. The below the Spring Street is what they want you to know now, since there's a Club Underground cafe or something now, or some other. You were right, man. There's a lot of places to play. So there's a lot of different venues all over the place. We were just kind of talking about Jim, man, and meeting Jim, and like, you know, Mike was saying that such an intelligent, gracious, silly human being that he was, man, and just. I just out of nowhere started blurting, "Hemp, where's the hemp?" I remember him saying that, and just, you know, dude, all the parties. I told a story. I hope there's no kids around, but I told a story about stumbling into the bathroom at a Disturbed party back in the day, and Jimmy is standing there hovering over this stripper chick with his junk in her mouth, hanging with her head off the back of this tub, and it was funny because I'm like, I go in, I take a leak, and he's so, hey man, what's going on? You know what I mean? Like, just having a full on conversation with me, you know. And that was just Jimmy, dude. He was out of hand. I remember going to some of those neurotoxin parties down in Rochester, dude.
Rochester, yes,
dude, and
that with Jensen and Cole and who else was there? I remember that whole crew. Yeah. Those were the good old days. Yeah. Mid to late 90s.
Yeah.
Mid 90s, because it was still neurotoxin.
Yeah, crazy stuff back then too, man. So anybody have stories about Jim? Anything you want to throw down with Jim?
Yeah, hanging out with Jim back in the day. So we're like, this is back in the 90s when house parties were still pretty prevalent, and there's kegs, and it was very common to see a bunch of your local bands, friends, mutual musicians all at the same parties.
Yeah.
And I remember it was me, Odegaard, Nick Miller, and a couple other guys, and we're all drinking beer. We're all standing in this room. I think Mike might have been there, but we're all just kind of chopping it up, laughing at everything. And this girl walks by, and she looks in the room real quick, and then she stumbles. And first thing out of Jim's mouth was, "Oh, she threw a hook!" And we all just kind of lost our minds for a bit there. But that was very.
I've heard him
Odegaard-esque.
Dude, I've heard him say that multiple times.
Witty.
Yes, absolutely, dude.
Yeah, he was always quick-witted, always very, very sharp. And contrary to some popular belief, Odegaard was extremely intelligent, very smart guy. And he masked his intelligence with humor. So it was always, hanging out with Jim was always such a good time. It was always refreshing, and it was always something to laugh at.
And it was fun to get him going though, man. Because he would just go. I remember even just like he'd do a show and he'd be like mad at some DJ. It's like, that 104 station or something like that. And he would go on for like 15 minutes. Like, I think we're supposed to be playing something now, Jimmy, but he would just be.
Dude,
just go on and on,
He was one of those guys I looked up to, and that banter, man, that thing, exactly what you're talking about, was some of the fuel that you used as a kid to deal with the crowd, man, is joking and having fun. And he wasn't like the dude. He was the one I always looked up to because he wasn't the guy that was trying to be the hardest dude in the entire scene.
No.
Jimmy was just Jimmy.
No,
you know what I mean? He was fucking funny. He was always having he was a showman. He put on a fantastic dude when he did this thing that when he had the mic stand that was like this classic, he'd have his front leg forward, but he would like bend into the mic stand almost like a hairband vocalist. You know what I'm saying? He would kind of
he looked like the Sebastian Bach.
Yeah,
that was
dude. Yes,
that was kind of his thing. His foot would be up on the monitor, and he'd have the mic stand, and he'd run his hands through his hair and shake it out. And all the girls would
be holding a cigarette, just smoking.
Yeah, hold a cigarette. Exactly.
Kong, are you taking notes?
Yeah, those were the good old days. Odegaard was, of all the local bands that were either real heavy or were like straight up hardcore metal, Odegaard was the front man's front man. I mean, there were people that would go to the show just to watch him because he was that good. Yeah. Not only could he belt it out, he just had a presence about him that added to the whole thing, the whole production of Disturbed. It was always fun to watch him.
Now, Kong, I know that you're kind of you're out of the element when it comes to this particular conversation, but I just want to ask you, like, this is something that I looked up to with Jim Odegaard was as a vocalist, I always wondered where vocalists would take their ideas from. And Jim was one of those guys that was really open with you when it came to things like that and what he was recording and what he was writing about and things. And I remember like later on in some of the Disturbed stuff where you guys had gone back and re-recorded some stuff and readjusted some things. And Jim sat down with me, dude, and he had this conversation with me as a vocalist for what seemed like 2 hours at least, of how he looked at his own lyrics and how he analyzed his own lyrics and how he went back and realized that he had grown as a human being and a person. And he went back to his old songs to rewrite the things to make them more effective for him to have the emotion to throw it back out there. And I remember him specifically sitting down with me and being a young dude, looking up to Jim so much, and I really felt blessed that he was one of the guy to say, hey, dude, I love what you're doing. Continue doing what you're doing. And that propelled me to do so much more for 30 something years. But just that time when you sit down with somebody, man, like, that's the type of vocalist he was. That was the type of friend he was. When he saw that you were in love with the same thing he was in love with, man, he would never stop talking about it, dude. He was just an open book when it came to that shit. Such a solid dude, man. Such a solid dude, and super fun to party with.
Yeah. But yeah. Jimmy always stayed true.
Yeah.
Always stayed true.
Yeah. Hey, man, how's
Yeah,
it going?
and he was willing to share. I mean, he had a moment where he had moments where his ego. I mean, it's hard not to when you're as handsome as he was and chicks gravitated to you and you're in a band that kicks ass and you can't not get an ego. But he was always very approachable. If you showed him love, he'd showed you love right back, which was always very, very cool.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you one thing, Kong has, even though he has no exposure to what Odegaard did, there's things that Kong does vocally that are very Odegaard-esque, if you will. He's got a range, and from what little bit we've seen thus far, he carries his own presence with what he's doing with the band. It's
awesome.
Fun to watch from being behind the kit, watching him do his thing out there. And we've had a couple practices lately where I'm just like, oh wow, this is our singer. This is great. So
well,
yeah,
we're coming from a couple of old cats that have been around for a long time, that's high praise, man. I don't know how much you hold on to what these guys say, but these are veterans of this music scene for a very long time, and taking somebody, a younger musician in and hearing their vocal style and what they do and praising them like that is huge kudos from guys like that. I know if I was a younger singer, I'd be like, oh shit, these dudes are all right. I hear you. So congratulations, man. That's fantastic. I'm excited to see you guys play again. That's February 7th. These guys are throwing down at the Club Underground. Very, very cool. Hey Troy, I asked these guys too, man. What were you listening to as a kid? What was flying around in the house? What was mom and dad listening to? What were your brothers and sisters listening to? What was the thing that pushed you towards the heavy stuff as a kid?
My dad, I remember to this day, God rest his soul, because he's since passed. But back in the day when I was a kid, it was very common on a Saturday morning to hear Motown and him shuffling around the kitchen, making breakfast for everybody. Way back then, it's like all the black artists that came out of Motown, and also the Commodores and that sort of thing. That was very, very common in my household. My mom wasn't really a big music fan per se. I didn't really get any inspiration from her, but my older sister, who's 4 years older than I am, we're talking back in the late 70s, super early 80s. I mean, she turned me on to like REO Speedwagon, and that was kind of a heavier band back in the day.
Were you riding the storm
very
out?
melodic, but touche, man. Well done. Well played.
What was that one?
Absolutely. So right. So yeah, I got turned on to that, and she listened to Thin Lizzy, and I dug that. And then once I found Kiss, I found a home. I saw Kiss and Judas Priest at the Met Center in '79, and that was just that set a precedent. I mean, that was a big arena rock show, and it just blew
Disco
my wig
Kiss
back.
too, right? That was Disco Kiss, right?
What's that?
That's Disco Kiss. That's Dynasty, correct?
Dynasty, yeah,
79?
absolutely. So yeah, I mean,
yeah.
Very, very impressionable, but I mean, it set a precedent that it's like, oh my God, I want to do that, or I want to see more of this. So yeah, I listened to a lot of that for a while, and then listening to Judas Priest and listening to, Scorpions and all the pre-hair band metal bands, like the Van Halens and
UFO,
Triumph and UFO, exactly, and Rush, and those all had a major influence. Iron Maiden, those were great bands back in the day.
Yeah, that's fantastic, man. Now, how about instruments? Were drums your first instrument? And how early did you get started playing your instrument?
I started playing piano when I was 10, and
all of you guys play piano, huh? That's crazy, dude.
I started playing piano, but I just reading music was never my thing. I never grasped it. I faked and muddled my way through a few recitals and only out of memorization. But it never stuck. Then I tried band, and that never stuck. And I played everything from trumpet to baritone, and then finally started playing drums. And it didn't work reading music, but it worked playing along with music. And so that just kind of stuck. And I followed musicians and gravitated more and more to that position. So I don't know, I think in my head I've always been a drummer. So, and that's been since I was maybe 10, 11 years old.
Damn, nice. What were
Weird
some of
though,
the
when you think about your young kid self, and what you want to be when you grow up, and the next thing you know, you're old, but you're doing exactly what you wanted to do.
Mhm.
It's like, it's
Yeah,
cool.
it's people are like, well, how serious are you? It's like, well, we all have careers and we all have families, and I have young kids and what have you, but it's it's a hobby that we take very, very seriously. um
you
is it
have
going to
to
make
play
us a
that.
living?
You have to
What's
play.
that?
You have to play at any specific level when it comes to this type of stuff,
Yeah,
man.
absolutely. Absolutely. We don't take it too seriously in that we're like, oh, we're trying to be rock stars this
Right,
old age. We
right.
just, it's, we've had a couple of really great practices this last week. And we're like, holy shit, this is still, excuse me, this is still so much fun. It's like, it feels like being a kid again. And anytime you can recapture that as an adult, doing something that you love to do, that you can share with people in an open, authentic, genuine manner, and people are receptive to that, it makes you want to keep doing it. So we'll keep doing this until the wheels fall off.
Hey, Kong, you know
Or
what they're doing to you right now? They're usurping your youth, man. Is what they're doing. They're vampiring
I know my gray hair is already showing up.
they're vampiring your youth from you, dude. You're keeping these guys alive,
Absolutely.
dude. They're like, soon as the sun comes out, just
Yeah, I think a
They're
lot of
giving me all their back pain.
yeah, I think
right.
a lot of the passion to keep doing this sort of thing too is, we're like Jimmy, right? We're losing people.
Yeah.
And these people were doing the same thing. My best friend passed away less than a year ago. Him and I played music together in this scene, for 30 years. And we don't know how much longer we're going to be able to do this. And that's one of the reasons why it's just all in. When I practice with these
Yeah.
guys, I try to be all in.
Oh
'Cause
yeah,
I don't know.
you got to be, man. At this level too, you know what I mean? You're not jamming with, some random cats. These guys throw down. You know what I mean? Kong, you stumbled into a gold mine, my friend. These guys are talented dudes that know a lot of folks in the music scene, dude. So it's awesome. I think it's so great, man. I refer to that feeling, man, that as the quickening, dude. You're getting the quickening from it, If you're still getting charged from that same feeling when we were kids, hell yeah, dude.
Yeah.
It's
I
Yeah, when I
think
started-
as long as you stay true. I think as long as you stay true to it, you can continue to get that. I think
for sure.
over I mean, Mike and I have been playing together for the last 10 years, and you still get that feeling if you play something that you put your heart and soul into, and you play it correctly. It pays dividends. I mean, you really get that. Wow, that was really cool. Yeah, that was really cool. There's so many cool things that we're still able to create. I mean, to be honest, watching Jason play, because we're auditioning, working through a bass player, and we are basically deconstructing the material so somebody else can learn it. And with that, I'm like, I never knew that song did that. I never knew that part did that. I'm like, holy crap, dude, you are a massive musician. And it's seeing it at that level, at a really granular level, I have so much more of an appreciation for it. And it makes me dig it that much more.
Yeah.
So I'm happy with the material we've written. I'm happy the way it sounds. And And when we play it right and we own it, it still makes me feel like a kid.
That's fantastic, man. Now, and we'll kind of segue to this question. I mean, like, what keeps it, fresh for you guys? What keeps the ideas? What keeps the creativity flowing when it comes to this? Is it you guys still do it the old school way? You guys get together and jam, or do you guys write riffs? Put them on a computer like the new kids do on the block. They send ideas left and right through Dropbox and all of that.
It's all pretty organic. Everybody brings ideas. Troy will have like a rhythm or something, and he'll kind of vocalize how he thinks it should go, and or we were just playing, messing around at practice, and something pops up. I spend a lot of time in my basement. For me, at least, just for myself, it's just picking up the damn instrument.
Yeah. Yeah.
You just play and you just
Showing up.
F around with it, and then stuff just kind of comes out.
Yeah.
But not gonna happen if I don't pick it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a number of ways, and then Jason really has just elevated the band to just another level. His musical insight and his creativity and the way he looks at everything holistically is really brought it along.
It's definitely at another layer. Jason's very good at, I mean, metal being what it is. A lot of times you lose some of the dynamic because everybody ends up playing the same thing. Now it creates a heaviness of its own, but Jason is mastered taking what Mike plays and then plays something completely different. So he's not just mimicking what Mike is playing. He's playing his own part to it, and it adds such a unique dynamic level to it.
Right.
So and it still keeps it heavy. So my big thing is I don't want to play anything that's too cliche, and I don't want to play anything that's not interesting. So
right.
And we've always been very open with one another that if I come up with a part, they're like, or if Mike comes up with something, I'm like, we listen to one another. So, as long as we stay open and honest with one another, I think we will continue to be inspired to write good material because we push each other to write creative things and things that are interesting.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, I'm sorry. Kong, are you still fresh in the band enough to are you learning all the new tunes? Are you guys actually writing new songs now? Are you have part of the creative process at this time now?
It's a bit of both now. Where when I first started, they would give me a bunch of songs to learn and stuff, and it was challenging. It was challenging at first with any song you gotta learn on top of your head.
Right.
But the one thing that I really appreciate from these guys is that they will give me kind of a framework to work by.
Right.
But they will give me complete creative control of whatever I want to do with it. And I really appreciate them for that. For that helps me kind of just bring my own taste into what I can do with the songs.
Right.
And when it comes to the writing process, usually I come at the last.
Right.
I usually like to hear the whole product before I sprinkle my lyrics and stuff in there.
Sure.
And for me, it's I have to hear it over and over and over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And for me, kind of like what Troy was saying, is I don't want to be too cliche. I don't want to be boring and stuff. So for me, how I usually write lyrics is I kind of feel the vibe of the song, Gen Z slang. I feel the vibe of the song, just see how it goes, and I just ride the wave.
Right.
And if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't.
Right.
And I present to the guys, and if they like it, it's cool. If they don't, then we just change some nuances here and there. We always try to make it work at the end.
Now, do you guys have inputs? If you guys feel anything, I know Troy, you were saying as far as mouthing a rhythm or having something to throw at Mike. Do you guys throw those same ideas at Kong in that aspect? Do you give him maybe melodies or patterns that he might be able to catch on when it comes to the riffs and beats?
No, not really, because the vocals it's not my particular area of expertise.
Gotcha.
And I think Kong's got a really good ear for where he hears his vocal patterns So instead of just playing on the parts or singing on the parts that his vocal pattern kind of mimics what we're playing, Kong's style of vocals are, it kind of flows over the top of of the music that we're playing. So the parts that need to be impactful and really aggressive, he has those, but he has this way of his vocal patternization, um, really kind of creates its own peaks and valleys
Nice.
over the material that we're
Very
playing,
cool,
which
man.
is really, really nice because
Very cool.
it stands out, without mimicking what we're doing. So if Jason does that and Kong does that, I think it just leads to a really unique and creative and interesting way for us to put music together, because not everybody's doing the same thing at the same time.
Very cool. Hey, Jason, I'm sorry I didn't mean to cut you off on that last thing. What were you going to say there?
Oh, I was just gonna say, just digging a little deeper, and the took Troy probably a little while to get used to the way that I play bass, but but really, it kind of boils down to both Troy and Mike and what they do. Troy is not your 4/4 drummer. So there's a lot of opportunity to do some really cool things with, a bass drum that he throws in a place that you may not expect it in, as well as like a snare drum and other things. Mike in particular, he's a lot of heavy metal is just parallel fifths.
Right,
You're looking
right.
at 1 and 5 power chords, that sort of thing. Mike plays 4-part chords that are very, very cool, very, very colorful. And with that, you have opportunity with chord inversions, and in other words, I can pick any one of those notes that he's playing in those chords and kind of capitalize on that, with transitions. There are times, of course, when unison and playing exactly what Mike plays is the perfect time to do so. When we're all jammed together. You may have heard that on Anathema at the end there.
Right, right.
But that's kind of what I found a good niche in this band, is to be able to capitalize on what Mike does and his unique playing style, and Troy as well.
Fantastic, man. Sounds like it's gelling very well, man. I appreciate it. It sounds great, man. I'm excited to see you guys live because, again, like I've been saying throughout the show, it's all I've been hearing is phenomenal things about you guys, and these guys are giving you great praise, Kong. I hope you're appreciating it, because it's awesome when you have guys that have been around a while and have been doing this for a long time, to give you that praise. I wanted to ask you this: 3 bands. If you were going to war today, 3 bands. What are you taking with you? What are you taking with you? 3 bands. Anybody can start.
I would say North Lane out of they're from Australia. I really like 12-Foot Ninja. I like Wage War. Jeez. I like Igor. That's a new band that it's not a new band. They've been around for a while, but I've really started listening to quite a bit of that. And that and to be honest, there's this Asian band called Hexenmind. They do covers of like Taylor Swift and other pop songs. And my daughters, 9 and 12, they listen to it and sing along. And I would be remiss if I didn't openly admit that heavy pop songs are kind of my hidden superpower, dude. I kind of dig it.
That's awesome, dude. That's awesome. How about you, fellas? What do you bring to war? What do you got?
You want to go ahead?
For me, August Burns Red
There you go.
from Lancaster, Pennsylvania, Crystal Lake from Tokyo, Japan, and Make Them Suffer from Australia.
There you go.
Yeah,
That's
fair.
3 heavy ass bands right there, dude. That's awesome.
And fun fact, 2 out of 3 bands I actually have them tattooed on my body right now.
Oh, there you go. That
Nice.
says it right there, man. You're bringing them to war for sure. How about you, fellas?
You go ahead, Mike.
Well, I don't know why, but I like this one Japanese band lately, Deviloof. I like the songs that don't have clean vocals. I don't know what it is about them, but they really got me going. And I always go back. I'd have to bring some Voivod. Piggy's probably the most influential.
You see
player.
their tour. You see they're touring again, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I have mixed feelings about it because he sounds like Piggy.
Right.
He's not Piggy, you know,
Right.
and he's phenomenal. The guy who's playing it, and he's playing like Piggy would, but still not Piggy. I just I still I'm sad that we don't have Piggy in this world anymore.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, he kind of turned my world upside down. So I take that, and I'd probably take I do like a lot of classical music. Maybe some like Ravel's piano works or something like that.
Dude, he's got piano works going while he's just letting it rip, dude. That's fantastic, man. That's fantastic. How about you, sir?
Yeah, I would. There's a lot of bands that I listen to, and Troy and Mike, kind of engaging with them. There's a lot of stuff that they've introduced me to that I really like. But a lot of what I get, familiar with, and kind of get, hammered into my brain is a lot of what my kids listen to too. But lately I've been listening to a lot of Spirit Box. I really enjoy this Courtney. Absolutely amazing what she can do. And I enjoy their sound too. Very, very good stuff. So Spirit Box, definitely one of them. Gojira is another one. And I'd seen both of those.
Love Gojira, dude. They're killer.
Yeah.
But, kind of getting a little bit out of the, certainly out of the metal scene, but no less heavy is a gentleman named Will Wood. And he's a great piano player, plays, kind of avant-garde, really, really, and it gets really heavy, but it's also, kind of like vaudeville-ish.
Nice.
But I mean, extraordinary talent.
No less heavy.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I don't care, man. Good music is good music. You know what I'm saying? Like, if it
Exactly.
moves you,
Absolutely.
it moves you. I've never, ever been a person to be like that guy who's had to listen to metal every single day. Even when I was in a death metal band, I still didn't listen to metal
Right.
every day. I was listening to, Aretha Franklin and Al Green to
Nice.
Circle Jerks and Black Flag and you name it, dude. Misfits. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, metal does not own heaviness.
God no.
There are ballads. I mean, if it hits you in the soul, and it's like Adele has some songs that are just they're weighty, they're
Oh, yeah.
heavy, and it's
Oh, yeah.
like heaviness is not just metal. I mean, if
Oh,
it can
yeah.
evoke an emotion out of you,
Dude, you
That's
just
heavy,
raise your hand.
know?
You're just doing this. Then they just hit that note, and you're just like, "Oh, yep, I feel you."
oh yeah, you're in it.
yeah.
You're in it.
Isn't
That's
that true
one of
about
those things.
metalheads though? I mean, and it's too bad it doesn't flow the other way, because metalheads listen to anything.
Yeah.
You know, and they
Anything
appreciate
and
it, love it,
everything,
and
absolutely.
and it's just too bad that it doesn't like kind of flow the other way. Where I mean, there are a lot of people that don't necessarily listen to metal,
Yeah.
as their kind of main genre.
Yeah.
They just don't.
Dude,
don't get
it would just be nice for people to not look at us like we're all complete meatheads. That's the funny thing about it is, you know what I mean? Since we were kids, it's like you just looked at like a meathead, like a Neanderthal. I've said it a million times. Some of the most intelligent, wonderful human beings that I've ever met in my entire life have been metal musicians or people that have been involved in music at any aspect, man. Just some of the most intelligent, beautiful human beings, man. I have to say this too. When it comes to bands and guys in bands, I always got to give a shout out to the ladies helping us in the background or allowing us to do our things. We appreciate it so much that we're able to do the things that we're able to do, especially at this age. That you're able to, obviously have families and careers and doing things like that. And God, all the work that it takes to do at home. And they're like, "Oh, so you're going out to practice again, huh? Living that single life, are you? I'll be over here washing these dishes, mister." You know what I mean? That type of thing. But
It's true, man. I will give a shout out to my wife, Melody. Man, I can play music. It's always just without question. She's standing right there.
Yeah.
But she supported me.
Shaking a fist at him. She's looking at him like,
You better
Just
give it
like
to
that,
him,
by
mister.
questioning what I'm doing. She's like, "Dad, do it."
Yeah. That's awesome.
She's wearing a gun behind the
I'll-
camera.
That's the inspiration,
I'll
man.
second that.
That's the inspiration that guys need in their lives, man. And we've looked for that type of inspiration our entire life. You know what I mean? And my wife finds it so crazy when I tell her stories of me not taking advantage of being in bands. "Oh, you were the lead singer of a band." I'm like, what, 3 chicks that were already here with dudes? What are you talking about? Yeah, I'm really picking up all these chicks. You know what I mean? But it's kind of funny when you think about it, because without them like pushing us along, or like not being in a band and like, what's wrong with you? You look miserable. You go in there and beat on something, or make something, do something, show up, get out of here, for God's sakes. You're in my way, So, big shout out to the ladies.
My wife actually thanks me for my wife actually thanks me for, we have our moments, but she's like, I don't want you here not doing that, because doing that gives me a sense of purpose, and it gives me a sense of pride in that. And it not only just occupies my time, but it's therapeutic, man. It's my medicine. And I think as we get older and we've taken the responsibilities of having families and raising families, and some people choose the career path and what have you, it's an outlet that lets you be insane for a while and just let it all out. And being, for whatever time we spend in the studio doing this, it makes everything else we do, it makes it so we're able to do the other stuff.
Yeah.
I think, we put a lot of emphasis on the music, but I think if we didn't have that, we would be different people out in the world.
I think the
creative, I'm a better person because of it.
Yeah. The creative process in any way, man, is really it. I've found a difficult transition, man, like not jamming and being with your homies on that sacred day or days that you have to get together and enjoy that ritual that you do, man, and play those tunes, and searching for that ether, that vibe, and you're grabbing from the, it's amazing how you find these feelings in the air, and they just come and they strike you like lightning, man, and it hits the whole room. And that if it hits you after being so desensitized from all the things in this world, you know what I'm saying? It hits you, and that you're going to be able to shoot that electricity out to the people in front of you. You know what I mean? It's a gift, man. It's a true superpower to be able to do that, man. And here's the thing. It's a different feeling to achieve those things in life, to further your education, to meet someone, to fall in love, to have children. There's a whole different gratification there than there is to separating yourself and being able to purge those creative feelings and purge all that negativity that we build up throughout daily work and dealing with people that you don't really maybe even care for. Social media is a huge anxiety for human beings to this day. It's so ridiculous with everything that's going on any, and I don't want to get into the political things of anything, but no matter what side you stand on, here's the sad thing about it is that, you don't have a space to talk about it with anyone, really, right? You go on a social media site to tell other people how you feel, and then you get attacked for it, or somebody judges you on this shit, or they ban you from something because you see something different than they do. It's ridiculous these days. It's so beautiful to be able to have these outlets, man, to have these things, man. Anybody watching this podcast, old or young, there's so many lessons to be learned throughout any of these podcasts, man. These guys are still doing it because they absolutely love it, because they need it in their life, because it's therapeutic, because this creativity has never left our old bones. Kong is young to the game. He's got lots to enjoy left, man, and he's going to learn from these amazing musicians and push this music and everything that we have to the next generation, right? Because that's what it's all about, is pushing it on. Any of you young folks, man, there's so much to learn from this podcast. Hit these guys up. Make sure that where can they can reach you guys? You guys on Bandcamp? You guys on iTunes? You guys on Spotify? You guys on all that stuff?
Yeah, we're not real good at merchandising. So we got our Bandcamp,
right,
and then we just got the F all.
Yeah.
On Facebook, you can reach us there. I think Troy, you got the EFF all on
Instagram.
Yeah,
Instagram. But,
yeah, I wasn't know. I was.
But
I didn't know.
2026 is going to be our it's not so much that we're gonna be taking it more seriously, but we're gonna make ourselves more available.
Sure.
We're gonna make sure that we have a social media footprint. So we may even have a website. I think these are goals that we should definitely accomplish this year, considering Mike and I have been playing together long enough to where it's like, come on, dude, we should have. We didn't get shirts until like a year ago. Less than a year ago.
Let me throw this at you though, just so you know that this look up the Distro Kid. That's supposed to be the new thing to hit all of the sites all at once. You put your stuff on Distro Kid. Yep, Distro Kid, and then it shoots you out to I believe iTunes and Spotify and all that other jazz. And then it's one spot that shoots you everywhere. That's so easy than going from one site to the next to try to figure all that shit out. So Distro Kid is what I've been hearing is the new way to do that, to get you on all of the the places. So yeah, definitely check into that. Anybody watching, if you like what you hear, get a hold of these guys on Facebook, on Instagram. Try to book these guys. Like they said, they're going to make themselves more available. I love what I hear so far, man. You guys are throwing down. I love it that you guys are still out here doing it, dude. I'm envious, man. I'm not going to lie. I get it every time.
I'll tell you one thing, Greg, just to kind of piggyback on what you were saying a moment ago about being able to have that creative outlet. It makes it easier when you go into an environment with people that you care about. I love these guys. We all love each other. And as corny as it sounds, I think that comes out in our music. There is a level of emotional commitment that we have to each other equally as we have to the music. And when you can find people that you resonate with that are creative, they pull the best out of you and you pull the best out of them. So, it makes it very easy and comfortable. And it's really special when you can work with people that you not only respect, but are also like great musicians. So there's no head cases, there's no egos. It's all about just making sure we're enjoying doing. The biggest thing is if it stopped being fun, we wouldn't do it. So we're going to continue to do it as long as it's fun.
Awesome, man. That's fantastic, man. Again, folks, let me put this on the screen for them here. Friday, February 6th, 7 p.m., 21 plus $10 at the door. Kellerman presents the Jim Odegaard 1 year remembrance show. The F All Moloch Exquisite Slag at Club Underground, 355 Monroe Street, Northeast in Minneapolis. Again, 21 plus $10 at the door. Friday, February 6th. Get over there, support these fellas. Get their material, download it. Bandcamp is what I'm hearing. I put it as all streaming sites, but see, they're going to get hooked up on distro, and it's going to be on every single streaming site. So, how do you think about that, sir? So thank you guys for doing the podcast. I appreciate you guys coming in and do it. Thanks, Troy. I'm so glad that you were able to jump in and do it at the very end, dude. We were like, yeah. He goes, I sent him the link. He'll show up if he can show up, and that's awesome that you were able to do it. I know you're doing your family thing on a vacation or whatnot, and that's.
I'm actually in Arkansas right now.
Well, you're lucky you're not in the tundra right now because it's colder than shit here, dude.
I'll share something with you that I just got before I logged on.
You gonna get some snow?
So they're getting a storm that's supposed to come through here. People in the South, they freak out when you get inclement weather.
Dude, even rain.
this afternoon it said your flight may be affected by potential weather conditions. And then that was at 1:36, and at 7:01, your flight for January 25th from Little Rock has been canceled, and we are rebooking you now. So I am officially stuck in Arkansas.
Oh man. Man.
But I got my computer. I can work from home, so I'll be fine.
Well, at least you're warm and you're safe. That's all that matters, because it's cold up here.
True.
How dare you,
What is
sir?
that, Kong?
He's attacking me with the Shrek photo.
Is that Shrek?
Watch, I'll get some sort of ban from Disney. Like, how dare you show it?
Right.
I'll have to block it out and shit. It'll be hilarious.
This is blur the whole fucking podcast.
Greg, thanks for having us on, man. I really appreciate that. I haven't seen you talk to you in a number of years. How's life with you? Good?
Yeah, man. You know, living and working and doing being a grandpa and dad, and you know, living the dream, dude. Just really
Nice.
getting older and being happy that I made it this far, bro. Really, honestly, I'm very thankful for all the things in my life right now. I'm thankful to be able to help people with their music and talk to them about their music and get it out. I'm happy that I'm able to see my children and my grandchildren. I'm happy that I have a job. I'm happy, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm just happy that I'm here, bro.
Right.
At 53, through all of the things that I've been through in my life, some crazy things. I was telling these guys, I feel like I've lived, you know, multiple lifetimes, man. You know, all the music, all the crazy shit, all the drugs, all the partying, just all of the rock star things you could imagine. We've lived it. We've lived it. You know what I'm saying? We didn't need to go on giant tours to live that.
Right. And we're better for it on this side of it. So yeah, I mean, it's funny how your the things that you find important in your life change as you get older. And it's like, when you were young in your 20s and early 30s, it's like music was everything, hanging with your bros, going out and partying and kicking and doing all that. And it was important because it was valid. Those are the relationships that you had for a long time, and they shaped and molded the people that you are now. But as you get older and responsibilities change, it's, you know, I like being a dad. I love being a dad. I love being a husband. I love having my job. But it's like, you know, I love playing metal also. And I'm glad that that's something that I could bring with me through everything, through all the ups and downs, and still be here and still be able to fall back on that.
That's fantastic, dude.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah, man. Well, I wish you all the best with this stuff, man. And whenever you guys release some new stuff, let me know. Whenever you guys got shows, make sure I hear about it. If I see it, dude, I always share. I always know. I keep my eyes out, so I'm always looking. You want to touch on this last one? What's Strands all about? Don't tell me it's an instrumental. Don't say it's an instrumental.
To science in a sense. It kind of covers everything from you know, how the universe came, but really about like the solar system forming, and then all of a sudden you got there's fish, and then fish, you know, you eventually got hands, and then now here we are, and we're smart enough to kind of look back at all the stuff that we came from. You know, it's a good point.
Science fiction evolution.
Yeah. Do you think we'll
tribute to the scientists.
Do you think we'll ever wake up like the Matrix? You think we'll ever figure out that we're just part of a fucking giant machine and we don't really mean all that much?
That could be. We're all in just one giant simulation.
Right? It seems crazy. I feel like there's glitches all the time in the system, man. You know what I'm saying? I swear to God. Dude, I've been having a lot of deja vu lately, and it's really weird things, man. You know, like, whoa, I remember that like about 2 months ago before it even happened. Weird things, man. I don't know. Maybe it's just me getting older. And I'm having dementia or some sort of. I'm having.
Everything's not quite firing the same.
Yep, Alzheimer's, old timers, as they say. Well, again, thank you guys for coming on. Everybody, don't forget to check these guys out. February 6th at the Underground. It's going to be a fantastic show. Great remembrance for a great dude. R.I.P. to Jim Odegaard. We're going to pound out this tune. Thank you guys for doing it. Thank everybody for watching and participating in the show. Again, hit these guys up on Facebook. Look them up on Bandcamp. Go to their show on the 6th of February. Buy some stuff. Support these guys. Throw horns. Show pictures of Shrek to Kong while he's singing on stage. I'm sure he'll appreciate it. And if you do it, you know, throw up horns for me. All right, boys. Folks, thank you. Stick around. We're going to play this tune. We's out. Yo.
Thanks so much, Greg.